So in the past I have already talked about how Rozen doesn't necessarily save you from debuffs, and this of course is especially true if you are like me and you're a budget player, because you probably don't have a 6-star Rozenciel yet, and like me you have a 4-star Rozenciel. So in this game, Malzahar, instead of banning any of my tanks or healers, he instead decides to just start banning all my DPS. He starts with Elwyn and then follows up with Reen and Ares. These are not uncommon bans, so they're not bad bans at all, but by immediately prioritizing all my DPS like that, what it does mean is that he hands me both Juggler and Rozenciel, and that generally means that he should probably not be picking any AoE characters. So his second pick is Ares. Ares is really nice because he can fit into pretty much any strategy you want. You can do both single target and AoE. Now, in many cases, Ares can just one-shot Juggler, so it was kind of surprising to me that he didn't just ban both my remaining tanks before picking Ares. Instead, he is probably just trying to neuter me by banning every single one of my DPS, so he goes for Yulia and Rachel. So even if I had not decided to pick a second tank here, the only DPS I have left here are Chris, Old Landius, and Matthew. And of course Matthew and Chris have kind of fallen behind in the meta by now, and Old Landius is usually not built to be a big tank buster or anything like that. So I think his ban pick here does make sense to some degree. He probably thinks he could just out-tank me if he just bans out all of my big DPS. And he also does a third pick Bozo here, which is kind of interesting. Like I said, I have both Juggler and Rozenciel on my side, so it's possible he is thinking that his Bozo can overload my Rozenciel, which he can a lot of time. And of course Bozo also has Sleep to dispel Beast Shock from Juggler if you really need to. But I think he made a mistake in his skill selections here. He actually brought Wind Whisper on Ares. With me having two of the best AoE healers on my team, I thought he would have brought a single target strike with Ares, because like I said, Ares can one-shot Juggler, albeit with a little bit of luck required. But if he was able to take out my Juggler, that would significantly decrease my healing abilities. And of course if I didn't have Juggler, it's unlikely I would have been able to break past his Juggler. It's possible that he was expecting a Lancer Landius, which is why he felt comfortable bringing the AoE skill on Ares instead of a single target attack. But honestly, if somebody leaves up your deedlit until that late in the pick ban, you should probably expect that they're using a Cav Landius. But I guess the main thing I really wanted to show in this video is just Rozenciel versus Bozo alone. You might have noticed that I banned units like Listel and Helena, even though most people would probably assume I shouldn't be worrying about their debuffs since I already have Rozenciel. But first we have Ares jumping in here. Now of course since I have Juggler, I don't really take that much damage from this attack. But of course one thing he does get here is to remove one of Rozen's shields from everybody, because Wind Whisper does do one random debuff. So Rozen actually already has 0 shields because of this. My only real response to this is to cast Mass Heal from Rozenciel to put up more shields. And of course here he uses Act again, so that Bozo can start harassing my team. And of course a single black hole from Bozo can give you anywhere from 4 to 6 debuffs on a single person. So even with Rozenciel around, my shields are quickly stripped away. And I guess that's more or less what I wanted to show here. I've showed in a previous video that even Almeida can sometimes strip away all of Rozen's shields if you're not being careful. And in this case, of course, you have Rozen versus Bozo, and Bozo is still maybe not king to buffer if you put him next to Reen, but he is the one doing the most debuffs in a single spell. I respond with my first move the next turn by just killing Ares. I don't put the shields back up yet because I just didn't want Ares to run away. That means Bozo can come in and do another AoE, and now Rozenciel is silenced. And this right here is probably why some people put Holy Ring on Rozen, or possibly even Bracer. I guess you do want to avoid the embarrassing situation where you pick Rozen and you still get Bozo to death. Thankfully for me, in this case, he did not clock. Without the clock, he's sort of put himself into a disadvantaged position. It's likely that I can just outlast him here and possibly even wall his Juggler off and get him killed by the fog, so he just ends the match. Like I said, I guess the main thing I really wanted to show here is just how fragile Rozen's shields can be when you're going up against our favorite day 1 debuff king, Bozo. He's still around, still can win games. Maybe not in this case, but he just needs a little bit of RNG on his side.